There are tons of myths that are out there in Sea of Thieves, ranging from the benign to the if you listen to this, you're going to sink. So let's review and see which are true and which should be sent to the Ferry of the Damned. Starting with the Chest of Sorrows. This cursed piece of trash, loot, has been in the game since it launched back in 2018, and even all the way back then, there seemed to be a revolving door of myths associated with it. For those who haven't yet encountered this chest, this is a cursed treasure, which means there's a potential danger for bringing it aboard your ship. In this case, it cries. And not only does it cry, but when it does, it floods your ship. And yes, your ship can and will sink if you don't bucket it while the Chest of Sorrows is on board. So what's the myth? Well, it turns out that the scuttlebutt is that if you play the right song on one of your musical instruments, that you'll be able to soothe the chest's crying and get it to stop without having to deal with it for an extended period of time. Similar to how when you play your instrument for a snake, it charms it and leaves it docile. My fellow pirates, this particular idea is worth about as much as a bag of gold left behind on safer seas. No, even less. You see, it doesn't matter what song you play on what instrument, the Chest of Sorrows will continue to cry and cry and cry for a random duration. So trust me, put away your hurdy-gurdy, pick up a bucket, and start bailing once you hear this chest crying. You could also pick up the chest and heave yourself off the side of the ship, holding on to the ladder at the lowest point before entering water, and you should be fine. And if you've also got a harpoon rowboat aboard and another crewmate, chuck that chest in the rowboat, undock, and harpoon your ship's stern. Now one of you can man the ship, and the other can enjoy Sea of Thieves speedboating, just as long as you don't mind the whining next to you. Let's talk about holes. The holes on your ship, that is. You see, you may come across a situation where you may engage in some naval combat, whether that be with the various skeleton ships roaming the seas, a lurking megalodon under the waves, the ever so welcome surprise kraken, or just some good old-fashioned player versus player combat. And during those times, you'll probably take some damage, which means a hole or 2 or 10, bringing in water on your ship. Now, any pirate worth their salt knows that all it takes to fix this problem is a handy plank, which you can hammer into place and voila, no more water. But what happens if that plank is broken and the hole is reopened? Does it automatically take even more damage because it was weaker than when it had no hole at all? No. If you repair a hole with a plank on your ship, that is in effect a full repair. Yes, I know it doesn't look as pretty as it did when there was no hole there at all, but that sort of vanity is what causes plenty of pirates to spend their hard-earned gold on one of the most devious gold sinks in the game. The repair ship option at the shipwright, or at the menu screen before you even join a session in-game. You see, if you agree to pay the gold, the shipwright sprinkles a bit of magic dust and poof, your ship looks brand spanking new. At least on the inside. These days I think the shipwrights need to work a bit on their outer hole techniques. But on the inside, no holes. And all it cost you was a couple thousand gold. No biggie, right? But if you're a newer player, or me because I'm broke all the time, then every shilling of gold matters. And if it doesn't make a difference mechanically, players shouldn't think they need to spend their gold on something that doesn't change anything. So take it from me. If you want to spend your gold to make your ship look nice and pretty because that's your aesthetic, then by all means go ahead. Just don't think that spending gold to repair makes your ship perform better in combat. Instead, trust in your planks, aim true, and make sure to say your GG's, win or lose, and you'll be fine. Next up is a simple but still hovering myth that sometimes veteran players will play tricks on unsuspecting swabbies with and have them second-guessing their future turn-ins at this location. And that's the idea of charging your treasure at the Reaper's hideout. Specifically, I see this myth a lot revolving around the Reaper's bounty or Reaper's chest. These Reaper treasures are usually seen via the lights that are emitted in the sky when underwater in shipwrecks waiting to be found. You can also get them through Fort of the Damned completions and randomly through skeleton captain digs. The Reaper's chest rewards players with doubloons, while the Reaper's bounty rewards players with gold. Somewhere along the way, players got the idea that if you place the chests at the elevator atop the servant's lair, that this will charge the rewards, and you can earn even more when you turn them into the Servant of the Flame. The game even offers you a little visual effect that perhaps even helps to perpetuate this particular myth. That's all this is, a myth. In the end, the only way to increase your rewards earned from the Reaper's Bones Trading Company is to fly the Reaper's Bones Emissary and increase your emissary rank. That's also true for all other trading companies with emissaries. Grade 2 emissary gives you an extra 33% reward all the way up to grade 5, earning you an extra 150%. And no, wearing the emissary costume does not make the reward any better either, though I'm sure you're making Daddy Flameheart very proud. Now let's shake this up a bit with a boom. That is, let's talk the damage difference between a Stronghold gunpowder barrel and an Athena's keg of ancient black powder, because man, there's a lot of confusion around these two particular beauties, and I understand. Experienced pirates are trained to avoid kegs at all costs, blowing them up at first glance but opening up strongholds that contain them, lest the tucking pirate, yes, I'm talking to you, Hitbo, take advantage of the situation and deny us our sought-after rewards. But this means there is a lack of confirmed knowledge on the subject of damage, so let's put it to the test. The myth currently is that an Athena's keg of ancient black powder is the most powerful of the explosive kegs, followed by the Stronghold gunpowder barrel, and then finally the standard gunpowder barrel. Now, let's just accept the standard barrel is the weakest of the bunch. It'll still send you to the ferry if you're too close, so don't judge. And let's focus on the other two. What we're going to do here is a simple experiment. I've got a galleon anchored right here with both a Stronghold gunpowder barrel and Athena keg on standby. I'm going to place a keg at the very far edge of the lower deck, where the bowsprit connects, and set it off. And then we'll take a look at the damage. Light her up. Now we'll just repair our holes here, and remember from earlier in the video, repairing these holes does 100% fully repair your ship. We don't need to pay the shipwright to repair the damage. Now we'll place the Athena keg in the same spot, and let's see what happens. Okay, as we can see here, the damage between the two kegs is exactly the same. Now, you probably still won't put these anywhere near your ship, but now you know that all the Athena keg is a prettier light show and nothing else. Okay, so this one goes out to all the new pirates on the seas. Swabbies! If you join a game in high seas, you are open for PvP at all times. Yes, that means even when you're sitting in an outpost. You might be collecting supplies, you might be exploring, you might just be AFK while you're waiting for your friend or friends to hop on. But that does not mean you're invulnerable to other players. Is it right? Well, that's debatable. If I'm a player with a ton of loot on board, I may want to make for the nearest outpost. And if that outpost has a ship just sitting there, then I have a choice in front of me. Do I eliminate the potential threat in front of me before it comes after me? Or do I risk carrying my loot to an even further destination and hope no one is there? Sometimes, even a bard needs to be a little bit of a devil. I hope you'll understand. But that does bring up another myth I want to squash that I feel prevents many players from really enjoying high seas. And I have seen this in discussions very recently. This is not something that is old or no longer occurring. And that is that some players, new players, don't understand the captaincy system and think that if their captain's ship they just spent their hard-earned gold on sinks, that they'll need to rebuy another captain ship and start all over again. Let me ease your worries. Once you purchase your captain ship, it is yours permanently unless you delete it. Doesn't matter how many times it sinks. In fact, you get a title for bad things happening to your ship, so cheers. But you'll only be able to purchase one of that ship type until you earn enough milestones to achieve a legendary status for that ship. So if you want a second sloop, you need to earn a legendary title for your first one. Now, if there was only a way to earn a legendary title quickly without having to deal with a lot of hassle, let me think on that while eating these bananas. It's time to break out the spy glasses and aim them at the sky because we're going to talk about clouds, specifically world event clouds. In every server, there's usually a world event active at any given time. In between these times, and only in between these times, there's a kraken on the loose. But when there is a cloud in the sky, you may find that there's a flashing of green or red among the gray. There is a myth that if the lights in the cloud are flashing, the world event is active and being contested by at least one other player or crew. That is not the case. World events do not identify themselves as to whether or not they're being contested, nor do they identify whether they're naturally spawning world events or someone's world event raid that they've dived to and created on the server. In each case, they're the same shape and go through the same mechanics, which is flashing green or red based on the event. So don't be afraid to head toward a world event even if you see some lights flickering. Go get that loot. Now, let's talk about the one. You know, the one. The Shrouded Ghost. The elusive, rarest Megalodon on the Sea of Thieves. Everyone and their grandmother, sorry Mildred, wants to know how to get the Shrouded Ghost to spawn. And there are so many myths about this particular creature floating around. How it spawns, where it spawns, can you make it spawn? Let's dig into the details. First, the Shrouded Ghost and the other Megs were released into the wild with the launch of the Shrouded Spoils update in November of 2018. This was after the Hungering Deep event, where crews could band together to force the original Megalodon, the Hungering One. Now, the most common of the Megs is the Hungering One, followed by the Crested Queen, Shadow Maw, Ancient Terror, and then finally, the Shrouded Ghost. And let me be clear from the start. There is no way to force spawn a Megalodon, let alone a specific Megalodon. And I know Toxic Sinclair and I had some adventures in the Shores of Gold, and there are a couple of videos out that kind of perpetuate this rumor, but I'm putting it to bed. Here's what actually happens. Sea of Thieves has something to the effect of an emergent threat timer. It's random within a certain space of gameplay time. Any time within that period, as long as you're not too close to an island, shrine, sea post, etc., you can have something spawn on you. It could be a skeleton ship, or it could be a Megalodon. The reason why the Shores of Gold is so tantalizing for this myth of spawning Megs is because it's the endgame island, and surrounded by empty ocean, which is prime real estate for spawns anyway. But again, it's due to a timer, not due to a location. It's very easy to test this as well. Go off to the lower portion of the map, say rows 23 and 24, and do nothing, or sail around, totally up to you. Eventually, you will have something spawn on you. It's just a matter of timing. And no, having more loot on your ship does not give you any advantage in getting something to spawn on you. You could literally just have your anchor down, sitting out there in the middle of the ocean, empty deck, and find yourself staring down the gullet of a Meg in no time. And the Shrouded, specifically, it follows the same rules. It doesn't spawn more in the fog, doesn't spawn more in storms, doesn't spawn more after a world event completion on this particular day or that particular time. It's just simply random chance. So my advice, don't try and overextend yourself attempting to catch this particular Meg. It'll either happen or it won't. There are players with thousands of hours in the game who have yet to spot her once yet, myself included. But the Shrouded Ghost itself is not a myth, just everything surrounding her seems to be. If you're looking for more tips and horrible advice to avoid, I've got a video for you to go watch next. Like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe, and leave your own myth in the comments. Maybe we'll do this again in the future. There are certainly many more to go through. Until next time, so long, and take care.